Live on the microphone. Hello. Okay.
Duke. Josh had a baby.
What's up, YouTube?
No way, Josh had a baby?
Yeah, they had their baby.
All right.
Congratulations, Josh.
5, 4, 3.
Welcome, everyone, and pull up a seat at the table. It is Lunchtime in Rome. Tonight's episode 180 is entitled Be Prepared. Are your relationships good enough? When is good enough not going to be good enough? Tonight at the table, we're going to be talking about why you should be prepared for tough times in your relationship. So pull up a seat at the table and join us. First-time listeners, you can subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Watch us live at lunchtimeinrome.com/live or listen directly on lunchtimeinrome.com. While there, you can take our relational needs questionnaire. Make sure to follow us on all social media, and it would be great, as always, if you give us a 5-star review. Jay, what specifically is this podcast about?
Being alone is the worst. Good times aren't as good, and bad times are worse when you're all alone. Romans 12:15 says to rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. That is how you keep people from being alone, and what this podcast is all about. We demonstrate that in the first 15 minutes or so of the podcast, and we talk about it for the rest. So while it may not be 12:15 in Rome, we're treating it like it is
Lunchtime in Rome.
Is that a female voice I hear?
Chris's
Yes.
voice has changed.
Hi.
Hey, Chris is
Hi,
taking
Amy.
care of some business still.
That's right.
So we have Amy Hammond
Hi.
Yes, my
Hi,
lovely
guys.
bride.
for her 1.25 plus visit because she was by
Yeah.
herself and then she was on with the 3 other ladies. So that only counts as a quarter time at the table.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
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 That's how we measure seats at the table.
I was going to say, that means like every episode we're on for 1 quarter.
That's it.
So I've done
50,
roughly 50.
40, 40,
yeah,
50.
Yeah.
I've done
Went fast.
179.25.
So I
That's
have,
not right.
I have a good and a bad.
Great how we just talked about we
Right?
don't call them
We
good
don't
and
do
bads
good and
anymore.
bad.
That's outstanding.
It's just an update.
So relational.
I'm just taking Chris's part, okay?
So we are, how far in? 2 minutes, and we've dinged Chris twice at his love and support.
He is the best. And
The drops have not been the same. Does
I was going to
everybody
say,
know that?
it's, man.
Should we say it at the front of this
Dude,
podcast?
okay. Let me ask you this, because I thought about this in the shower the other day, okay?
Wow.
I was thinking about you guys and Chris in the shower.
that was your
Makes
good.
nothing but sense.
Of the episodes that Chris is on,
Did you do a deep dive?
what percentage
Oh.
do you think he gets the drop at the beginning of the show?
I think we've gotten to the point where it's like, that's kind of gratuitous. Like, even if he's not
Yeah, he
meaning
was
to
searching
be,
for
it's
them.
just kind of like, Chris is here again. He's probably going to get a
Did you
drop.
do a
Maybe we go a
statistical
different.
analysis?
No, I'm just asking, like, what do you think? Because I was like,
50.
So,
I was like, it's got to be at least 75%.
well, how many? He wasn't here for the first. Probably,
But not the. I'm saying the ones that he out of the ones that he's
Yeah.
on.
Well, I'm
He's
trying to think of how
on-
many he wasn't here for. You know what I mean? Like probably 50 in the beginning, something like that. So we'll say 120 episodes. I would say out of those 120, it probably is at least
80.
half.
Could be 80.
Yeah.
yeah.
And just so everybody knows, as you hear in the beginning of the podcast, there is an out of context statement from within the podcast later on. But if you hang around till after the goodbye, you'll get to hear all the drops we didn't use in the beginning.
And there's
So,
usually about 5 or so.
That's my favorite part.
yeah. And if Chris is here, they're hilarious.
Oh, so funny.
And if he's not, they're funny.
He has the best laugh, too.
He really
Oh
is.
yeah, yeah. So we talk about how like nothing's wrong,
Right?
but nothing's right.
Not everything's right.
Right. And that's kind of, I feel like that's where we are. Like everything we've been like running hard.
Well, you're done August at Maggie's birthday.
August
That was the finish line.
Right, the finish line was Maggie's birthday back
that's
in
right.
August. And,
Stinking Lucy.
and tonight there was a moment because like we're like, Amy's done a unbelievable job at decorating the house.
I would concur.
It's unbelievable. It just looks like
It's clean down here. It's super nice down here.
Eric can attest for that part.
I clean, but she
cleanliness
He can
part.
decorated
attest
this.
or he gets credit.
I get credit for cleaning,
yeah, he gets
keeping
credit
it
for the
clean.
cleaning. Oh, yeah, for
all
sure.
that.
He's
But
doing a
she
good job.
decorated all this, and then upstairs, if you go upstairs, it's like,
did?
it's crazy.
Maggie's room looks great.
But there was a moment tonight where I was like, I can't handle it anymore. Like we've just put off like like cleaning up. Just
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Right.
Dude, I'm nervous
random-
about it.
Yeah,
I'm done. I'm out of here.
I had to step over one last thing of crap, in our house, and I was like, let's just take 20 minutes right now and tell Maggie to play by herself, and she did great.
She did.
And we cleaned up, and that was awesome.
But
it's just been like
get to breathe a little.
yeah, but there's also like this, I don't know, this like looming, like up until this week, I just have been off the rails with eating. Like I just haven't,
We have not talked a lot about that.
Yeah, and I felt like crap. I know I've gained weight.
Oh.
I know it shows, and like I'm just feeling heavy, literally and emotionally,
Physically.
So if you're the praying type, I ask for prayer for that. It's definitely a lifelong struggle.
Clean it up.
And I just talked to Max, and we're gonna get back at it. So
Oh, you haven't been lifting either?
no, we haven't lifted in a minute because like with the way I'm at with the way I am with my arm and my leg.
Yeah, what
and
can
the
you
way
do?
Max with his leg.
Your neck extensions, maybe.
Yeah. But we at least want to get back walking, just moving.
Sure.
So there's that. But speaking of Max, who frequently sits at the table, who just recently got caught up on a lot of episodes and asked me.
He's never actually sat at the table.
He's never
though.
sat physically at the table.
Yeah.
Which we should have him on.
That's
for sure.
for sure.
He's taken the
Yes.
relational needs questionnaire.
Have Amy Raymond contact him about being
I'll do
a guest.
that. But we played, so for those of you who video game out there, as I do. Yeah, Brad, as Jay like falls asleep. There's a game called Warzone, and the second version of it just came out, Warzone 2. And there's a lot of chatter of how a lot of people hate it, but I actually like it a lot. The changes that they've made. It is a little buggy, but blah 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 blah. But basically, what you do is there's 150 people that fly in on this island, on this big map, and
Not dissimilar to Fortnite.
right. Similar to Fortnite, and there's different things, different locations on the map with different structures and stuff like that, and you're just trying to make it to the end circle because there's this gas that's closing in that's pushing everybody to
Isn't
one
that
point.
just like Fortnite?
It is. It's the game type is called Battle Royale. So there's many more. There's Apex Legends, blah 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 blah.
Sure.
Call of Duty has one.
But it's really hard. This is Warzone. That's what this is. Yeah.
Donkey Kong, I guess.
Just wanted to make sure you knew what you were playing.
But Max and I played one game last night because he was coming home from New Jersey. I just come home from your house, and I was like, let's just play one game. And we got our first win.
Aw.
And it was unbelievable. I wanted to like scream, like, "Oh, let's go!"
You were upstairs, you're grabbing Maggie, waking her up.
right?
Daddy's awesome.
But it was just such a fun moment. Like it was great. And then shout out to Duke, who was on the show last week. He, myself, and Max played some Warzone together, and it was a blast. Like it just felt so fun. It was great.
What I think about
Great
is
time.
when you talked about 3-day respawn back in the day and how you could be playing, a video game with a guy in South Korea and a guy in Ireland or Scotland or wherever it was and ministering to them. And the beauty of using that technology and that platform, which this may shock some of you guys, but people say and do some bad things in video games.
It's even worse
chat
now
rooms.
because in Warzone they have what they call proximity chat. So you'll hear just people talking like around you, and they will say like the most vulgar, just cause, like just
Yeah.
the most.
So for you guys to use it
It's
as for
crazy.
good,
Yeah.
it's kind of awesome.
Yeah. And there are some streamers out there that have been doing a great job with all that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cleaning it up, you mean?
Yeah, there's a guy named Preacher Guy. He's great. It's awesome.
Good. For me, I had great news today. We got home, Bella and I, from me picking her up from school, and I'm putting the garbage can away, and she's checking the mail, and I'm like, she hasn't heard yet from the 3 schools she applied to. And then all of a sudden, she's just super excited because she got into Mercyhurst. And it's such a parenting moment because she always considers Joe's the smart one. And she'll say, oh, I said something stupid, but then again, that makes sense. And like she always puts herself down. Her class rank is 21st out of 391. And that was even now she switched to class and her GPA is now 4.3.
Wow.
So she's probably in the teens. And so she got into Mercyhurst, which we've never even gone there. She picked it because it's far enough away that it'll mean something when she comes home. Like,
Isn't that where Shire went?
no, he went to Messiah.
Messiah.
Mercyhurst is up in Erie.
Yeah.
So that was super exciting. We're looking, it's a nice card they sent and everything else. And then it said in the body of the letter, we're also offering you a merit scholarship, I'll say it, of $22,000 a year for a
Amazing.
total of $88,000 over 4 years. Now,
Amazing.
40 grand to go there. Okay. But
Sure.
still.
But hey, that's a big
Yeah.
chunk.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I read that, she was shaking. She was so happy.
It's
Like,
validation
I
for
can
everything
imagine. Right.
that
but
she
it's
doesn't
not even
believe.
validation.
Okay.
Right.
My point is because she doesn't believe
Screw
it.
me.
No, it's validation for me.
Yeah.
But for her, it's a realization. Like, oh, I am that smart.
Yeah.
Because all of her other friends are already getting into school and she was panicking. And meanwhile, like Joe applied in like May because he knew he wanted to go to Pitt and he only,
Right.
But as I read that, I had to stop myself because I was going to cry. And she hates it when I cry. And
Dad.
she wasn't crying. So at that point, I'm not joining her in the emotion.
Right.
But I'm hugging her at one point and I said, honey, I have told you. And in my head, I want to follow with, you're smart. And that you are, you're not your brother's little sister and you're all this stuff. And it was so great and so difficult because I was like, shut up.
Yeah.
Because that's about me. I've been telling you all these years how smart you are. And so I said, honey, I told you how proud I am, but I'm even prouder now. And I'm so excited. And it was such a great moment. And I thought, once again, well, this is real hard doing what we do. Sitting here at the table and trying to, because all I wanted to do was say, I told you you're smart.
told you
and
so.
I told you, I
Yeah.
told you so.
Yeah.
But that's about me.
Yeah.
And so I just let it be about her. And I didn't point out you got to maintain a 3.0 grade point average to keep the scholarship. Didn't even throw that out there. Figured, let's save that for
Yeah.
another day.
Let's
Fine
rejoice right
print.
now.
Let's
More
just
and later.
We'll rejoice. We'll rejoice. So it was just great. And she was beaming. And somebody else asked me,
awesome.
how long will this last? Will she then, the self-deprecation and everything else sink back in? And
Right.
and I think we defined it better here tonight at the table that it's a realization. Like, yeah, I can do this and
Right.
I am that. And
Someone
so-
from outside of her circle too, like completely
Exactly.
another. Yes, like
yeah, 'cause
another.
she's got a big bunch of cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Oh,
right,
yeah,
That's what I mean.
gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they recognize that.
So we will see. And we looked into, she applied to Allegheny, which is actually pretty hard to get into. And apparently, my friend Danielle went there and she was like, I hope she likes nothing because that's what's around there. She
Yeah.
goes, they do have a Walmart, but and Bella went, I like Walmart.
Yeah.
But now we think, and she also applied to Albright, which is in Reading, PA. And I knew nothing. She picked it because it's 3 hours away, whatever. But I looked it up and it's actually a pretty cool little school, geographically bigger than Mercyhurst.
I feel like I know somebody that went there.
You hear about the Albright Scholarship a lot, which is not that. But anyhow,
Yeah.
but like their big thing is they focus on dual majors. They like 65% of
Albright
their
does?
students, 65% of their students graduate in 4 years with a double major.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow. That's
That's
incredible.
great.
And they just reduced their tuition by I think like 50%, and so it's like 19,
Wow.
the base level, because they are committed to excellence. And of course, as I read that, I go, enrollment was down. You're like,
Right.
yeah, you're committed to education and keeping your doors.
But that's good though
Sure.
because that's what colleges
Yeah.
need to do. It's
Should do.
It's
It's
insane.
it's a
the
racket.
cost it is a racket. It's such a racket.
Trying to talk Ethan out. of
Oh,
going to
I'm with you
college.
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just excited. And now maybe over Christmas, we're going to go up to Allegheny and then to Erie and then down to Reading. I don't know.
Reading.
That's a lot
Reading, I apologize.
of
Sounds
Pennsylvania right there.
Right.
That is a lot of Pennsylvania.
That one might only be like 4.5 though. Two up. I don't know how far
Allegheny,
south do we keep
Alleghany's
Reading?
kind of on the
Meadville.
way.
Yeah, it's right on the way.
Right. But then you got to go out to Reading, which is.
And you can't get there from there. There's no road.
No,
No.
because
Gotta
then you
take
got to come back
80.
down and you would take 80 and then squiggle your way down like
Yeah.
something.
Did you map out disc golf courses yet?
I've been very disciplined. I already know what's in Erie, and
Yeah.
there's a bunch near Reading, so that's okay too.
All right.
I mean, if I had my druthers, she'd go to Liberty because they have a 4-star course on campus. But
Wow.
I'll go visit Mia and do that.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with food, actually.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
So
about.
we haven't had-
Eric
Way to
and I
define
went
it.
out with my cousin
Ooh, yeah.
Adam and his wife Jen. Then on Saturday night it was an
Didn't even know they
impromptu
existed.
impromptu date night. It was last
Yeah,
minute.
it
So
was last minute.
Kudos to my mom
When
and
was
dad.
this?
Stepped
That
in
was
Saturday
nice.
night.
Nice.
We were just planning to stay in, and then they asked us, and we went. I don't remember the name of this place, but it was up in Cranberry.
Farbirds.
Best-
Nate Sexton's place.
Yeah, yeah.
I never order steak out.
I
was
love
like,
you,
oh,
babe.
no.
I'm gonna move the base of the so that faces you of the mic. Like this. Yeah.
You never order steak
I
out?
never order steak. Normally I don't.
Oh.
But I did this time, and it
I
was
never order a steak out.
yeah.
She normally infiltrates with undercover people.
But you did the one time when we pulled the caper. We got a steak
Ordered
out.
a steak
Here.
out.
Oh yes.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just
Anyway.
These are
anyway,
terrible jokes.
Did somebody say
Anyway,
steak?
it was the best dinner I've had. It was delicious.
Ever?
It was.
One of the best dinners I've
It
had.
was a
Wow.
great
It was
steakhouse.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Drinks were great.
Drinks were great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could just tell they do everything great there.
Live fire.
Everything was good.
Oh, it smelled like it smelled like fire through the whole
How
place.
Yeah.
pricey?
I don't know.
They treated us to dinner, which was totally
Yeah.
not expected.
Wow.
We were just like
what I'm
completely
talking
humbled.
about.
It was,
Yeah.
it
Free
was so
steak.
sweet. And we had
are
some time
these
before dinner,
Cousins.
just the two of us, which was really nice.
Sunflower
too.
Sprout people. They want to talk to
Oh
you.
yeah, I want to talk to them.
And
maybe at Firebirds.
I did the
On
whole
their dime.
surprise me thing, and he brought me what they called a
Dude, that's so ballsy.
a BLT steak,
I know
which
the
it
guy
was.
like, what? What do you want to do?
I forget what
Pork
cut,
belly?
I
Little
forget
pork belly
what
on
cut
there?
it was. I'm trying to remember what cut it was. I don't know what cut it was, but they had this
Probably
like
fancy, like a.
it was a BLT butter that they had on top of it that you like just smothered it with, and it was unbelievable.
BLT butter.
Yeah.
It's like sun-dried tomato in that butter. Where are they getting the tomato in the butter?
Probably, and then garlic and
How you
bacon.
can lettuce
and-
in butter?
It was good. It was good.
I don't even know who these people are. That's next level.
It was really good, and then it was
Gastro.
habanero like scalloped potatoes. Yeah, it was really good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
free.
step on you.
Yeah,
No.
you did.
It was a very, very nice dinner, very nice
That was great.
time. Good company.
And we need to have Jen on the pod.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to add, this is so funny. The last time I was on the podcast, remember when Maggie was having her phase of standing up in the crib?
Yeah,
And
she's
sleeping?
Is that what
no,
she's doing right
no,
now?
no.
Okay.
I just think it's funny because
I
now
just
she's
panicked
just,
a
it's
little
like
bit.
completely different.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I guess overall this week, I was just telling Eric that the other day that every aspect of my life just has been like, hey, we need you to help out. Can you do this? It's like little extra, and it's all stuff that's not hard, but it's just comical that it's like literally every aspect of my life.
Right. Like
has
no
been
phone
like,
call, no
hey.
email, no text isn't,
Yeah.
or is even saying, hey, I want to help you out a little bit. Like,
Right.
It's all,
Right.
I need
Would you
you to help me.
mind?
Work's reaching out from this. Family's reaching out for this.
Right.
My family's reaching out for
Hey,
this.
Amy?
Like it's yeah.
I don't need a dadgum thing from you. Just want you
Other
to
than
know
just
that.
sitting here tonight in the podcast, right?
No, that's what Lex needed.
Oh, okay.
Well, there. See,
I
there's
love
another
that.
example. There
Just
you go.
gently shove her under the bus. No, I'm kidding. I'm
She,
kidding.
you coming to me?
I'm not.
Love you,
I'm
Lex.
throwing blows.
I love it. I
Hey,
love
she
it.
getting her work done. I appreciate that.
So.
Speaking of Lex.
Hey,
I'm
Brian.
Brian.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Brian.
Here I am. So this week, I had a really fun Saturday overall. And I started Saturday with going out to brunch, breakfast, lunch, whatever, with Duke. And he and I had a really nice meal and had a good talk. And then I went home and decorated the house,
Oh,
which
yeah.
I love to do.
Gosh,
And
that's
thank
great.
you for your Christmas decorations.
The contribution.
Yep.
I thought you said contraband.
No.
Yeah. Oh, is that what it was?
Sunflower sprouts, bootleg stuff.
Santa contraband.
Nope.
They're running a big fence operation. So yeah, decorating on all day Saturday, and then Saturday night went over to the General and Mary Lynn's house.
Big
and
guy.
Finally
Big
saw the
guy.
Jingle Bar. Heard so much about it for 2 years.
I've
3
seen it,
years.
but I haven't been there for like when it's all like lit up and for a party.
It's a jingle
Oh,
bar.
it was lit.
I would love to see it.
It was lit, and there was Christmas music on.
As you go down the stairs to the jingle bar, if you look to your right, that area, that was my bedroom
Oh, okay.
growing up. That
Gotcha.
open area.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I slept as a child. Just throwing that out there.
Good to know.
It's not much.
Speaking of trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. Explains a lot.
They took down my Farrah Fawcett poster.
Did you have anything else?
Good time though. The jingle bar.
It was a good time. It
Got
was
to
a-
meet Wyatt Carter.
Yeah, I think I've met him before. I think over at your house one time.
My
Met him.
great
and- yeah.
nephew.
Yeah.
Great niece.
Best name.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just. I think Saturday was a big highlight for me. And I wanted to let you know too, Jay, about Bella's letter today.
Yes.
Because I wanted to show Ethan, and I asked Bella, I asked you, but I asked Bella also. I said, do you mind me showing this, particularly this portion, to Ethan? Because I did want him to see if he does decide to do college, which I have my feelings about college, but I wanted him to see like how tangible that is. You know what I mean? Like here, $22,000 a year. And you know, he works hard at school. He's got great grades. And so, yeah, so I wanted to, you know, just thank you for letting me share that with him so that he can kind of really let that crystallize.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's a good boy.
He's a good boy.
Yeah, I love when I hear good things about him. You know, like when Bella will say something like
She
somebody's
really-
getting
she
picked
really-
on.
yeah,
and,
she
like
really-
they champion each other's causes very well.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't know that she champions. She points. I guess she does champion his cause because she's pointed out like times he's been there for her when nobody else has, or you know that kind of stuff.
And I think it's really cool that we get to watch them develop their own relationship, and you know, and as their worlds become more complex, to see them navigating their worlds together in a healthy way. You know,
It's not the theme of tonight's podcast, and I join you in that celebration. But you think about like when we were 15, 16?
Ethan's
Ethan.
15, yeah,
Right, and Bella's 17. Like, it's more complex now.
very much more
Heavy.
complex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the fact that everybody has a phone with a camera on it, like that
Well, that's-
alone is super complex.
Right.
I was talking to somebody today that you know, and I'll tell you later.
Oh.
But their son, talk about complex and talk about this, how screwed up this is. He was being bullied at school last year, and it continued into this year. And so he, I guess, confronted some of the bullies. They did get into a legitimate fight, but then what these kids did was basically, according to this person, so I
Sure.
it could be a story, but they basically framed him by going to the school district and saying, this kid is about to call in
Oh.
a threat.
It's safe to say.
You know, like he's going to come shoot up the school, and he has a list and everything. And so now he's been, you know, expelled from school. Has a criminal investigation going against him. So talk about complex. Like, I mean, you remember
Yeah, that
like,
didn't happen much.
Right.
bullying used to be, okay, you fight
Yeah, and it's done.
and it's done.
Right.
Right. I actually had a classmate, you know, the security shack, Joe's shack, they called it at Penn Hills, when you came in at the old high school on the left.
Yeah.
Yeah, they blew it up actually. It was fun to do. It didn't explode entirely, but yeah, it was
Wow.
different times.
Different times.
Different
indeed.
Yeah.
It was simpler times back then, you know.
Yep.
So simple times are great, and if you have relationships that are fine, good. That's fine. But if we know anything about life, things change. And we hear very often people have changed. You know, you hear about that. And that's sort of where I want to look at tonight is what do we do when things change? And we really do need to be prepared in our relationships. It's kind of the focus for the talk tonight. And, you know, we look at ways people have changed. They go to college, speaking of college. Oh, they really changed. You know, they really changed when they went to college.
Right.
We've experienced this one. Oh, ever since they started dating so-and-so.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they really changed. You know, they changed.
Yeah.
You know, people make more money. Oh, they've changed. They've changed. People started partying. Oh. You know what they have?
Change.
They've changed.
They've changed.
You know, and the phrase, are there other major ways we think that people change? Other than relationships, financial status, people they hang out with,
Jobs.
jobs.
Spirituality. I mean,
Oh, they got into that church. Oh, they changed.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
they changed. The reality of it is, and it was a phrase I heard a long time ago, and I just don't remember who it was. It's another one of those great Jay Mitlow quotes. You know, that money, fame, and substances, they don't change you. We think they change you, but they don't. They make you more of what you are. Where have you experienced? Would you agree with that statement? You're both saying, huh?
Yeah.
I think, well, I mean, for me, like I look at we were talking about 15 years old, right? 15 years old is really when I started getting into partying and, you know, substances and things like that. And I definitely changed. I think the cultures that I was involved in changed me fundamentally as a person. But I think now, like if I drink too much, it does just make me more of an a-hole. You know, like I think now things just do make me more of what I now am. But I think like looking back, does that make sense to you? Like, you know what I mean?
You would say on a macro level, it changed you.
Yeah, it was such a critical time for me. You know, I'd gone through, I mean, we've talked about before, I'd gone through bullying. And so there was that trauma so there was like innocent me. And then there was this trauma that started to change me. And then I went into the substances and everything that I think really, again, use the word crystallized who I became for a long time. And now when you know, like I said, if I drink a little bit too much, I think I do just accentuate more of who I am in a way. The parts that I'm trying not to be, that does bring things out that I don't like. So it's still there. So I think there were phases of what I'm saying.
Right. And I'm thinking more about your original statement was you changed when you were 15. If we look at it from the structure of the emotional cup, you know, you were hurt. And what comes out of the emotional cup, you know, are the results of that hurt. And so, you know, you were a hurt individual. What came out changed, you know, and your needs were great and they weren't getting met. So you were numbing them with the alcohol. So your inner core was the same. It was this hurt person. What's coming out of the cup changed and made your circumstances different.
Sure.
But the reality is you were still hurt.
Yeah.
And your needs weren't being met.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, outwardly people would say, "Oh, he's changed." No, he's reacting to his hurts in a certain fashion that is different.
And you use the lottery example a lot, you know, and it's statistics.
75%.
People that win the lottery and substantial money are usually end up more broke than they were before because they don't know how to be a rich person. They've never been they don't have an abundant mindset, so they become more of that broken person just with a lot of money to burn.
Yeah. If we look at it from a needs perspective, that when circumstances change, your needs don't change. Now, as I put together this little chart, and it's sort of a little exercise, you know, we can look at this. And I don't mean if somebody starts meeting your needs, like that's what we want. It's
Right.
when all the needs change at once, or when you get that need met all at once. So imagine somebody with a high need for security and they win the lotto. That's what we just talked about.
Right.
Okay. Do they go, "Oh, great, everything's fine now"? No.
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 Right.
They either, you know, they're going to get hyper controlling. They're gonna make sure that they know where every penny has gone from. They fear they're going to lose it. They get super frugal, and if they, you know, it doesn't change the fact that they still have a high need for security.
Right.
If somebody has a high need for belonging and they win the lotto, well, guess what they're going to do?
Get a posse.
They're going to throw
Right.
that money everywhere.
Buy their friends.
And they're going to buy their friends.
Right.
So it didn't really change. Their needs were the same. If somebody has a high need for affection, oh, good, they finally got themselves a relationship. Now they have a huge need for affection. Is that going to solve all thetheir problems? Especially if that person isn't great at meeting their need for affection.
Right.
Right.
It's going to be
Yeah. I'm thinking about like,
be so funny if you said two people's names right now.
no. I'm thinking like we're talking about eventually having a podcast where we're using like movie characters or clips to illustrate certain needs. But I, like as you were saying, affection. I went to like Wolf of Wall Street, and you know, this guy starts buying hookers and you know having relationships that are not filling his need for affection.
It just occurred to me.
I know we didn't do it.
I apologize.
It's okay.
I so apologize. I respect your input, and I blew right through it.
It's okay.
And we have a special segment.
We're gonna do it at the end.
Stay around.
Yep.
It's a good tease.
Yeah.
But I want everybody to know Jay's the idiot. Jay ran right. Start tagging it now. Jay's the idiot. Jay ran right through what we planned ahead of time. A nice special surprise for everybody, and I blew it.
It's totally fine.
Worst is it though? Brian.
Yes.
Keep going.
That's it.
I have a question.
Ooh.
Talking about so there's a person in my life that
Won the lotto?
nope. Well, yes, but nothing substantial. This person actually really feels secure with money. Like money solves the problem, even though we know like it's not. But like I feel like
money
they
can solve problems.
Well, but I'm saying like I feel like they would be fine. Like they would feel fine. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
like I
sure.
still think that, of course, that person's hurt is still going to be there, but they have in their mindset money
Well,
is security.
So
for
maybe
them.
that
Money is security,
but
right,
maybe
right.
that person can deal with the money issue because they are already that person.
Right.
Where does that person, what do you think their greatest need would be?
Support.
Support. Okay, so they win the lotto, and I guess my point is their need for support is still there. So do they handle it all on their own, or do
Right.
they have a financial manager? Do they have a planner? Do they have a
That's
manager?
yes, I know exactly what would be. Yes.
And so they still have that need for. So the point is, we're going through this mini exercise is focusing on the need and seeing how having it met all at once,
Right.
or in an extreme fashion, or not met but seemingly met, doesn't change the need or their reactions to it. Imagine somebody who has a high need for attention, and all of a sudden they go viral on a TikTok video, because let's keep it where it's doable. Not okay, they became famous, but
Right.
even if that happens,
Right.
are their needs? Is their need met? Does their behavior change? Become better? No, it's going to become even more hyper focused. It's not a gradual, intentional meeting of that need. It's an overflow all at once, and they're going to be panicking that it's going to go away. They're going to get competitive. Imagine the next 8 TikTok videos that don't go viral.
Well,
Right.
I'm thinking about. Do you remember that girl that was on Dr. Phil and she was like, "Cash me outside"? She was
Such a great example.
She's making like $53 million or something now.
No.
A month.
Yes.
A month.
Yes.
On TikTok.
It may not be
or
53 a
OnlyFans
month,
or
but it's tens of
my
millions a
gosh.
month.
it's so
It's
much
a
money
lot.
a month.
She's
right
making
now.
an astronomical amount of money.
Astronomical.
So much money.
So much money.
So what does she do? What is like? Where is it? That viral video made her become more of what she wanted, which was attention, respect.
Right. Her need for attention hasn't gone anywhere.
No,
Right.
No.
and it's paying off for her though.
Yeah.
So good for her. Cash you outside, girl.
Imagine somebody who has a high. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say we have a great clip. We should use it as one of the ones at the end that we're gonna do at the end. That attention one, Instagram.
Ah, yes.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
It's very
sad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's very sad.
Stay tuned.
So, just the last one we'll do right now is imagine somebody who has a high need for belonging, and so finally they get a relationship. Oh, they have a relationship, or maybe they're just joined some sort of an organization and whatever else. But what if it's bad for them? Then that need for belonging gets exacerbated, and
Right.
they'll allow themselves to be abused. They'll blame themselves for things. So, even though
Or
things
they
have
might
changed,
hold back and not want to have a relationship. Like, oh well,
They'll
I'm
shut
not gonna.
down.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
well, except they
test
can't
that
shut
again.
down because they have such a need for a belonging.
Right.
So they're going to go for another bad one and another bad one. So, our needs don't change no matter what our circumstances are. And also where our hurts go doesn't change. So somebody's really fearful and all of a sudden they get a bunch of money. Are they secure? No, they're always fearful. What if I lose the money? What if I have
Right.
taxes? What if I do this?
Somebody
What if I do
comes
that?
steals it from me,
Right.
takes advantage of me.
If your hurts go to anger and you'd start doing a whole bunch of drugs and alcohol, oh boy, that's powder keg. I mean, and that's why, like, you hang out with some people. Like I was with a guy in college. Now, praise God, it wasn't the night I was with him. He was an okay guy. What I didn't realize was he's keeping everything inside. So one night where I didn't go out with him, he threw a stop sign through a car window. He ripped it
Whoa.
out of the ground. I mean, he bent it back and forth a bunch of times.
Oh my gosh, how long does that
Yeah,
take?
but still,
I think it
he was
over.
determined.
He was a strong guy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but still, like those things are in there.
Get a big tree trunk or stick or something.
I'm about to get hit by a car and not
Yeah.
necessarily move.
But imagine if you struggle, if your hurts go to, remember, hurts go basically to 4 places. That's what we're going through is fear, anger, certainly guilt. All of a sudden, you get somewhere in life, you get famous, you get some status, you get everything else. All of a sudden, does he feel not guilty anymore?
Imposter syndrome.
No,
Eric's favorite.
Imposter syndrome.
it
Yeah.
will magnify it
I'm not good enough to
Sure.
even have imposter
because
syndrome.
the pressure.
That's one of your best
Like
quotes.
every time you
that was from Amy.
every time you level up in life, like even if it's like not good for you, and you level up, it becomes more difficult. It becomes more complicated, and and that will be a weight that presses on, like you're saying, on these hurts, and so you will feel more guilty. Like you will feel more self-deprecating. I can't believe I won. I won the lottery.
Right. And because you know what else? When you do, like they talked about it on the Nate Land podcast, when it was just over $1 billion or $2 billion for the lotto, or was it the lotto or the Mega Millions? Lotto.
Powerball.
And how people will resent you when you win.
Yeah.
Well, imagine if you already resent yourself,
Yeah.
and then people come at you saying,
Right.
"Why do you deserve to
It
win?"
reinforces it.
Strangers, people
Yeah.
online,
But or those closest to you.
or those closest to you.
Oh, yeah, it's magnified, it's multiplied, it's all that.
We live in a state that you have to tell, like you have to reveal who you are, right?
Yeah. You also have to win.
That's true.
I hate that part. If you struggle with self-deprecation and you experience trauma, so you're sitting in your self-deprecation, I'm not worthy, I'm terrible, I'm the root of all things, I'm no good, then something bad happens,
Well, of course it's going to happen to you.
that's when you go right into depression.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's a scary black hole of emotion kind of place where you go with no hope. And that kind of helps us transition to really the focus of our talk tonight, which is, when you're in a relationship and everything is fine, everything's good enough. Yeah, I wish it was better. It's fine. And as long as we get through this, we'll be okay. Or as soon as we get past this, we'll be all right. Or if we could just, your needs aren't going to change, and where your hurts go aren't going to change. And the sad reality, this is a Sunshine and Roses podcast tonight here at the table. Good enough is only good enough when things are fine. But the reality is, when you said I do, you had no idea what you were saying I do to. And trauma is coming. I'm not saying your house is going to burn down. Might. I'm not saying that you're going to be a victim of a violent crime. You might. But there is some kind of trauma coming. And I want to take a few minutes, and just go over for our own stories. And Amy, you got a lot of pressure here because you're the only female at the table. And so you guys are under a lot of pressure because you're the only married couple at the table. Brian and I can lie about our trauma all we want. There's no accountability here.
Amy's going to be like, that's not the way that went down.
Lex does that to me all the time. I say something, she's like, no.
No, not no.
That's not the way it was.
It would be so funny if you were like, Hammonds, why don't you guys talk about your trauma? And you're like, when our cat died, because I know you haven't had a cat die. You're like, and it was just the worst. And you go, year, and he goes, weekend.
Those 2 minutes that I mourned for that cat, man.
But can I also go? I might be overstepping,
You can't keep going.
but bringing trauma before trauma even hurt, like you're bringing trauma into the relationship too.
Absolutely.
And then let's have more. Like then we're together, and then something.
Well, what do you mean by that? I'm bringing trauma into the relationship.
They're not saying that everybody has experienced trauma, but there definitely could be childhood traumas, certainly. And so, of course, that's where the hurts are coming
Right.
from.
I'm taking umbrage with your phrasing.
Okay.
I brought trauma into the,
Yes,
one,
trauma.
Yes, she did.
Trauma happened to me.
the effects of
The
trauma,
effects of trauma, yeah.
are
Right.
present within us,
Right.
which are revealed in our hurts and in our needs,
Right.
and where our hurts go.
Yeah.
And we walk in bloody and bruised to every relationship. So yes, that is a great point to point that out. I'd rather you didn't personify and carry that on your own shoulders.
Right. But I didn't even think of that, saying that. I did,
Right, I know,
but-
because it's you.
Yeah.
I don't mean you as Amy Hammond.
No,
I
yep.
mean, we don't see ourselves.
Right.
And it's a simple, gentle phrasing
Sure.
that reveals that self-deprecation, which is a result of the trauma. Oh, there we go. So everybody, let's take a good hard look at Amy right now and break her down. No. So what trauma in your relationship did you guys experience? As much as you're careful of sharing. Caring to share.
Yeah, I'll go. Lex and I came into our relationship, all my previous experiences aside that hadn't been healed, that even we've gotten into just on this episode. But for her and I, we came in, I think, in a very, very good place. It was extremely focused on God. We were doing missions at the time. We were both very healthy in a lot of ways. And so we came in
Mountaintop.
very strong, on very much a mountaintop.
Firm foundation.
Very strong together. Yes, very strong together. And then we really took a couple years and just didn't do a whole lot. Like we kind of backed out of ministry, and we traveled together because we did the long distance thing, and so we'd wanted to be very intentional about developing our relationship. Now that we were together, and then we moved into some things that got us into some really bad financial trouble. And so I know for us, one of the first big storms that we had to deal with.
That's a good way to put it too, because I think trauma it's an actual, diagnosis, whereas storm.
This was a storm that we brought a lot of it on ourselves.
Well,
and
sure,
we did it together. But like the whole time, her and I were in it. Now we are uncovering some things where there was some fracturing that started even in that time. But during that time, like we didn't fight with each other. We weren't blaming each other. It wasn't like when some couples encounter financial difficulties are one of the biggest things that break people apart, and cause divorce, and for us, we never really, that was never a thing for us, but we did go through this time of really, really difficult financial problems. And we've had some other instances since then. We've talked about it on the podcast, Lex, with the the health issues over the past couple of years, which has caused me to take on some things that I'm working on.
If you go back to either of those storms, now certainly in the first storm, the sort of the financial crisis and whatever else, given our last couple podcasts talking about the difference between emotions and feelings, how aware of your emotions were you then? You knew how you felt, but how aware were you of your emotions and what your emotional needs were?
Very little.
Okay, and looking back now with the brilliant mindset that you have, and I don't mean that in any sarcastic way, do you think were your needs any different before, after, and during your storm?
I think my need for security in temporary things back then was much higher than it is now. And I lost a lot of need for a temporary security. But I think there's a lot of things that if I could change, I would. But I would handle things a lot differently. My perspective would be, much more faithful, I think. Because I was in doubt, and I was in a lot of self-condemnation, I think, during those times.
Which is where your hurts go. Is self-condemnation.
I've realized over the past year, especially,
right,
that I have a lot more self-condemnation than I thought I had.
And what my original question was is more towards, again, the need-based. What I'm saying is so as a late teen, whatever else, we sort of, and through your 20s, we were talking about your highest emotional need to a degree was belonging, but also respect as we looked at back. No, you thought it was respect, but it turned out to be more belonging and security.
Acceptance.
Being loved even though acceptance as far as being loved even though you've made a mistake?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. No, I'm sorry. Attention. I never realized how big my need for attention was. And so yeah.
So the question is, did that change during that period? So the idea is, hey, when trauma comes, your needs get greater in the same need. Your hurts get inflamed in the same way. That, if you were angry before, you got angry during that time. You said self-deprecating.
I was angry during that time.
And you also said self-deprecating. So like you said, hey, that storm was our fault to some degree. So that it got inflamed as well. So in this time of a storm, your needs aren't getting met and they become almost greater. And where your hurts go is even louder and more impactful in your life.
Well, and again, like I'm real familiar with anger, and I was very, very angry during that time.
Right.
And again, I grew tremendously. Like I realized how entitled I was.
Oh, God uses all of it if we allow him.
But yes.
The reality is the storm came and things got real difficult.
And to a large degree, who I was then is still who I am now.
Correct.
So yeah.
And you said something that I think is really important in that, you and Lex have done a whole lot of work in the past calendar year. Is that about the time period? Well, a lot of the way you guys reacted to the storm, which you thought, hey, we got through it. We're good. wouldn't even have said we're good enough. We're good. Turns out we weren't good.
Oh, it's amazing. That's a great observation because it is really amazing to do some of the work that we're doing this year and realize that what we thought we dealt with, we hadn't.
We got through it,
We did get through that.
which is the first goal.
Yep. It's great to ride out a storm, and it's great to be on the other side of the storm and look around and go, all right, we're still floating. But that doesn't mean that the trauma from that storm and the previous storms that you've come through has actually left you. It's just the weather's cleared up.
And to Amy's point, what it did was also reveal the effects of previous trauma before
Exactly.
the relationship even came.
Yep.
Which is a great addition to this illustration.
Yeah, and to dovetail on that, like during that time of financial difficulty, there was so much, and this isn't to throw my parents under the bus in any way, shape, or form, but so many of the habits and tendencies and fears that I grew up witnessing in my house carried into that time.
Absolutely.
And caused
Yeah.
me caused me and by default Lex to make a lot of compoundingly much more horrible decisions on top of each other.
Right.
So yeah, it made me more of who I was
Yeah.
in that area.
What about you guys?
Well, we've shared our story that we've struggled with fertility, and I think during that time, this was pre knowing anything about emotional needs or hurts or anything. So, however, as a result of that situation and miscarrying and all of that went with it, we sought out support, and that's how, as a result of that terrible thing that we were going through, we found out about emotional needs, and so that's them through that. It was, it's not easy work, but by doing the work, we found out our highest needs and where our hearts go, and it helped through that in a way. Like it helped that journey.
And you'd say your hurts. Since you brought it up, would you say where your hurts went as a individual carried into your relationship?
Yes.
Did they get magnified through your storm?
Yes. Yeah, I think for my hurts go to self-deprecation, and even though I have a diagnosis that can cause infertility. Like it was told to me as a very young girl, but back then I didn't think, you just don't think of that. Like, oh, whatever, I'll deal with it. Or so then until it came time to actually start trying, and it was kind of like, I guess a relief that like, okay, I know there is something wrong, but to get a diagnosis now it's like, oh, like now there's some blame to it. And so you still kind of put that blame on yourself. Like, I'm broken, I'm not working. Why is this hard for me? Why is this so easy for other people? All of those thoughts go in your head constantly.
And Amy put it on herself. So there's that need of acceptance. Like, I did something wrong and I'm broken. Are you okay with me? There was a lot of that. Like, I feel like, I was, but like, it's still,
Yeah. See, it's funny. I don't even remember that.
Yeah. It was still hard. Yeah. It was still hard to meet that need as a husband, because like, what am I can't do anything.
Right.
Well,
you're peeing on a forest fire and hoping it goes out.
Right.
If I was better, I'd have better analogy. The guy just said today, he said, I'm trying to avoid all the suckers in a world full of lollipops. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I'm like, you peeing on a forest fire. But again, if you look at how intricate relationships are, here you are in the darkest moment of your life, compounded by other previous dark moments in your life.
It was the shoe dropped.
Married to, walking through a guy who walks on eggshells in any relationship he's on.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's sure it's his fault. He's sure he should be better at loving you.
Oh, yeah.
You're not putting a bit of that on him,
No.
but yet you're embodying that. You're just carrying that burden
Right.
because of your own previous storms and traumas.
I remember after the miscarriage, we had a baby shower to go to, and I remember asking Amy, I was like, "Are you sure you're ready to go?" And she was like, "Yeah."
Oh yeah, there was two
two.
baby showers.
There was
Yes.
two.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to one of them,
Yeah.
and it was up in Cranberry, and
First set of twins.
Firebirds.
And
Oh,
or up in-
twins.
yeah.
They get two.
Yeah, they get
They get two.
They get two.
Exactly.
They're like, oh, I can't believe we have twins.
We can't have
Yeah.
one. They can have two. Okay. Well, yeah. And and I remember on the way coming home, like
Oh, so quiet.
everything was fine there. Like
I had excused myself a few times.
yeah, but Amy was like a duck on a pond, right? Like calm, calm up top. Feet are just,
Oh, yeah,
you know
that's
what I
very-
mean?
yeah,
Like you know, and then we get in the car, it just starts flowing.
That's
it
so
was-
funny. I thought of that tonight.
Yeah.
Thinking of that story, and that's funny you brought
And
that
to
up.
this day, it's the most alone I think I've ever felt in my life.
That was the darkest, one of our darkest.
yeah,
dark,
because she's
that
crying,
car ride home.
and
was
like I'm silent
horrible.
because I can't do anything. I'm helpless, and
I finally released it.
yes,
Finally released
Right.
what was really in my heart.
And I just sat there because I was like,
Yeah.
there's nothing I can say right now
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna make anything better. Like I can just be here and
Mm-hmm.
just be, which was probably the best move for me in that situation. Like I'm
Oh,
sure
you wouldn't have said anything.
I wouldn't have said anything
No,
correct.
Sure.
Because there are no words.
There are no
No,
words.
right.
And it was a long. It felt like we were driving from California to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Like it was so long. And yeah, that was
Mm-hmm.
tough. That was tough. And I was just, now that looking back of what I know now,
What would you have done?
Yeah.
well, come back to that because I was just thinking of like
Right.
where I was going in my head, like of fear of, well, what's going to happen after this? Like this is big. I've never seen her like this. So like all of that. And then there was, I have a high need of belonging, and is she going to be distant? Are we going to be, okay? That kind of thing. And I was definitely angry. I was pissed. Like, not at Amy.
Well, I was good
Yeah,
clarification.
yeah, not at
I
Amy.
was gonna say,
You
wait,
ruined
what?
this car ride.
Not at Amy.
I
at
wanted to
all.
kick her out of the car.
I was just mad that, like, man, like, why can't we have one? Or even like, why can't Amy have one? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Like,
Like,
if I become a father, not whatever.
That's my
Amy
self-deprecation.
really wants
Yeah,
this
yeah.
kid.
yeah. So yeah, what would I have done now?
Hold on, before we go there,
Yeah.
which I already asked the question, but I'm
Right.
gonna take it back.
Yeah.
So he's sitting there. That was an amazingly bold statement you made, because she's losing it on the car ride home, and you said, "I've never felt more alone," which I think it's so vulnerable for you to say that, because as you tell that story, I'm heartbroken for you, and that just release of all the
Yeah,
pain,
right.
and everything else,
Yeah.
and you're like, I felt alone, like because you couldn't help her.
Right.
I get it.
Right.
What was going through were you just in the depths of sorrow?
Yes. And I didn't feel alone. I think I felt alone in the situation, but not alone. Like it was obviously I felt as comfortable. Like he would be the only person I could actually talk to about,
Yeah.
like really like let it out. I think it was more, I just needed like, yeah, and it does suck. Like, but I felt that even though you may have not, I don't even remember.
And that's
But
exactly the
that's
point,
what-
that she didn't feel alone.
Right.
Like, yeah, there could have been some magical,
No.
you could have, whatever.
Sure.
But you didn't
Not in
feel
that
alone.
moment. Right.
And yet, by not being able to help her, you felt alone.
Right.
Like, she's
Right.
the one hurting,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but you felt alone.
Well, and
your presence, I'm interrupting,
yeah.
your presence, your being there with her in that moment, his silence was not an absence of emotion.
No. Right.
And that you felt, okay, we're sad right now.
I finally felt vulnerable enough clearly to
Right.
to
Right.
the gasket just
So had you known what you were
Spelled.
doing, it would have been great comfort.
Right.
It still was great
Mm-hmm.
comfort, but then you wouldn't have hurt because you're like, I'm doing good by just being quiet.
Right. And
Mm-hmm.
I do think, as a guy, there's that macho, mentality or whatever you want to call it, that I want other guys to hear, like, I did feel alone in that moment, and it's okay to express that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
you should.
Well,
Right.
it's okay to express it, and what a lot of us do is we don't.
We don't. We
Right.
bottle.
Really?
We
Sure.
bottle it
Yeah.
up. We bottle it up. And like, yeah, I'm not talking about feelings. I'm talking about real emotions that are impactful on your health. Like
Well, my heart breaks for you. Like I'm imagining you in that car ride, knowing how Amy feels and your inability to do anything about that, and your inability to say anything about that, I'm just like, my heart breaks for that guy right there, because you're a wraith at that point.
I'm paralyzed.
You are.
Yeah.
You're a no man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the end of it, you did the right thing, because right now she can sit here and say, I didn't feel alone. In that
Yeah,
moment.
which is great.
Right.
So I wouldn't change a thing.
Full circle.
Well, no.
You could have changed your mindset.
You just shouldn't have felt alone.
Yeah.
Right.
Just don't be alone in that moment.
I'm like, I'm gonna call Jay and Brian real quick, hon.
No, I think that's
I don't honestly, but going back to that question, I don't know what. I don't know if I would really change much. Maybe, like, I was tearing up on the way home. Maybe I would cried a little harder with her. You know, I don't know.
You still had to drive.
I still had to drive.
Well, that was my only thought. Is I might have
Stop the car.
Stop the car.
I'd maybe pull.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm like coming out from probably 279. I'd get off in an exit, and I would just sit there, and I would start by just putting like my hand on her knee.
Yeah.
Of course,
yeah.
I'm thinking Rachel.
Right.
I put
Right.
my pointer finger on her kneecap, gently rub it back the size of a dime. No, but that's the only thing I would think of. Is
Yeah.
let's just stop,
Right.
and let's just be
Just
here.
have a
Let's
moment.
be here right now.
Have,
Yeah.
have the
And
moment.
we'll always remember that spot,
Right.
that moment
Right.
where I intentionally did that,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
okay to be where you were.
Yeah.
But yeah, you did a great job by not screwing it up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Was it like,
Because you didn't know
it'll
better.
happen, or
No.
it was nothing like that. It was.
No, you don't have
never-
to feel that way.
Right.
Oh, God will take care of it.
Right.
Yeah.
All the
Oh, we can do that.
all
for
the
an hour.
classic.
Oh, we can do that for an
responses.
hour.
Oh, yeah.
I had 5
That's a whole
miscarriages
other
before I had one.
podcast.
Oh, dude, it was the worst. Yeah, that will
Yeah.
be.
We should maybe do one of those.
Yeah.
Like
Well-
specific to
Like,
childbirth issues.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
stories.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Was I want to do that because one of my ideas was having somebody on and going, what? What?
It's the inner monologue.
Yeah.
They're like, who has just gone through a miscarriage.
Not
You're like,
no,
"Shit,
no, no,
let's get him right on there and
but
ask him."
somebody that maybe has had a miscarriage, like we could do it with Amy, but somebody's had a miscarriage, and then we go through all the horrible,
all the crap things. Yes,
and
right,
then
that's what I'm
roast
talking
those,
about.
just roast those people, like, oh, they're the worst.
The people that said it to them.
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
Not
Not
the
the
person.
people that had the miscarriage. You're not going to roast them.
Not them, and I was not pissed at Amy in the car.
No. But that led you to say, hey, we're not okay. And there's got to be a way that we can help each other
Right.
better, even though you did a
Yeah,
good job.
right.
And that's when you started meeting
Yeah.
with Rachel and myself years ago. at
but
this
had that
point.
not
Years.
happened, who would have known? Like, it just again all it gives you chills. Like you're
Yeah,
all meant to be.
And for Rachel and myself and our trauma, the biggest one obviously is having a child with cancer and being diagnosed with that at a time when I wasn't working, which is interesting. But but different is we had already gone through all of our training. We had learned the importance of not being alone. We'd learned how to comfort. And I mock and I make fun of Rachel just like she does as well. And in her ability to emotionally respond rather than just say "suck it up, Buttercup" and all that stuff.
Right.
And that's on this side of the training.
Yeah.
Right.
The old Rachel was tougher, harder, and she has come and she is great at it. And it's sort of the same thing when you get a hug from Rachel, right?
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It
It's
is a big deal.
It's
Yeah.
a huge deal. And if you need one, she'll give it to you gladly and warmly.
Yes.
It was so funny last night. We were leaving, and Brian gave Rachel a hug, and Rachel looked at me. She was like, "Do you need a hug?"
Aw.
And I said, "No, I'm good." And she was like, "All right." It was so funny.
And so when Rachel will sit down next to me on a given bad day and put her hand on my thigh, it's like there's gold
Right.
on my thigh in that
Yeah.
moment.
That's a big deal.
And so
deal,
when we
yeah.
went through, we knew all this, and it's really, we couldn't have been, I look back, it was from a relationship standpoint, Rachel and my marriage, it just wasn't a burden. And it's what got us through it.
Right.
Yeah.
And this isn't a lift Jay and Rachel up on a pedestal, but it's a testimony to, I knew, hey, this is going to be tough. I'd heard at one point it was like 70% of couples who have a child with pediatric cancer get divorced. And then I tried to look that up, and I can't find that stat. But we saw it in a couple in the hospital with us.
Yeah.
That it was like, oh, things are okay. And a month later, they're like, yeah, he moved out, and it was like, oh,
I don't know anybody else that's gone through such a horrible trauma better than you guys.
well. And again, I want to point out, it's because of what we learned,
Right.
not because of who we are.
Right.
You know, Jay and Rachel, I say it 1,000 times. We're not that special. We've just applied what we've learned and found what works.
Right.
And that's really a lot of what we wanted to say. Like, I'm dealing right now with a couple different couples. I mean, I always say it. I know a lot of people's stories, and I'm not blowing up anybody's spot, but their relationship is not at stake. There's no infidelity. There's no anything else. They're going through the storm.
Yeah.
And they are scratching and they are clawing, and they weren't prepared for the storm. They're good enough. They're good couples. People would point to them and say, "What a good couple."
Yeah.
And they still, in the outside world, still may say that because they don't know. But because of the exterior forces that are exacerbating their needs and inflaming their hurts, their relationship, they're at a crossroads. They're either gonna and they're playing catch up. At this point. And that is our encouragement for everybody.
No, I think that to bring everything around that we're talking about, that's the biggest takeaway, like at least for me, that I want to convey. And we talked about it, and you're probably going to finish this.
But I wanted you to do it.
Is don't wait until the storms hit to get these things embedded into your spirit and into your mind. Because, like you said, at that point, you're playing catch up. And at that point, the traumas become compounded. You're going to go through things, even like you guys came through it really healthy with Trey, but there's still a lot of things that you, I'm sure, are dealing with, you know, to some degree, like, and that you may yet deal with in the future.
Hope not.
But again, you are a prime example of this work being done ahead of time and having to go through a storm. So that's the point of emphasis for me, is that you are going to encounter trauma, real, ugly, soul gut-wrenching trauma, if you haven't already, as a couple.
It's coming.
So
it's a great podcast.
We're the worst.
So
we're the best.
This is the preparation. These are the things that you need to set in place right now and get set in stone in your heart and your mind, so that when that comes, you have somewhat of a fighting chance. Otherwise, the fracturing is just it's mind-boggling.
From a sports perspective, imagine learning the game of football, going out, catching with your friends a little bit, and then you say, I'm good enough. And then you get thrown in an NFL game and you go, well, now I have to really get good at this. That's what it's like. If you're just if you're not going to get better at your relationship in the quiet times, in the quasi calm times, when the trauma comes, you think you're going to catch up then?
Yeah. No.
Now it's just survival.
Yep.
You know, and that's,
or it becomes more about inward, like all about me and fixing things necessarily. Because okay, how am I going to do this with another person? Does that make sense? Like if I'm going through something really traumatic, I might be go inward and focus on how I'm going to get better or get through it.
That's exactly what happens.
You know what I mean? Like it's just going to, like that's one of the things that can break down the relationship, and you're pulling back even more. And
somebody that I'm dealing with right now, I'm ministering to, I'm being given the opportunity to love them and talk about them on a podcast. What I said to them, to one of them, is if we are going to look at this from a biblical model, which this couple does, the two became one. We read that, you hear it in weddings. You know, no, the two became one. But when trauma hits, you look inward. And they're not even considering how can I help the other person.
Right.
Well, then the new creation of the two suffers.
Right.
Because it's not one anymore. It has become two. So you're saying this might happen. No, that is exactly what happens. And that the unit of the relationship, the new creation, gets no attention and just gets divided further apart by that trauma. Any fissure that's there, again, any hurt that's there, any need that is not met,
it dies. It's not nurtured or anything. It's just right.
It's such a good point, Jay. It is such a good and vital point, because how many people do come into their relationships with this is my portion of the relationship, this is their portion of the relationship. There is no becoming one, or there's a very little becoming one. You play the game, you maybe get a joint bank account, but there's a lot of people that come into it where like, this is mine, this is yours, and if by chance we diverge, well, so be it.
Yeah.
And in conclusion to this, okay, the storm is coming. We were dark. We're the worst. All that kind of fun stuff that we talked about. Doing this work, learning how to meet the needs of your spouse. And again, your child, your mother, your whatever, your friends, meeting their emotional needs, learning how to comfort, learning how to rejoice when they rejoice, mourn with those who mourn. It's not just fire insurance. It makes the relationships richer and more beautiful and more intimate on every healthy and non-douchebaggy way. You'll have intimacy in the good times. So it's not just an insurance policy.
Right.
It's the way that we were supposed to live and to interact and have community with one another. So it's not just do this because bad stuff's coming. It makes the good times even better. And sometimes people don't do this well.
No.
And so what, Eric, do you want to introduce it?
No, you introduce it. I say we do the Instagram one first, and then we end with the kid.
Sure.
We'll do 2.
So 2. All right. So we're toying around with real life examples. Well, as much as Instagram is real life, whether it be TikTok videos, Instagram Reels, Facebook's, whatever they are. I don't know. Are they Reels on Facebook?
Reels on Instagram. It doesn't matter.
Where we're looking at examples of good, not good, emotional responding, or something topical to things we sit at the table. And the first one is an illustration of a lot of what we talked about tonight.
And this is where in the future it would be very beneficial for you to join us on YouTube or rewatch us on YouTube.
Oh yeah, because we'll have audio. And give me a little
First
forgiveness, but this is the first run.
If you're still with us, stay with us.
We're gonna see how it goes here.
And also send some in.
Yes.
We want the engagement.
Instagram or a long-term boyfriend? Pick. Okay, let's see.
Instagram.
Okay.
Instagram.
Instagram. Okay. Instagram. Okay.
Oh, Judeanne's getting red pill right now.
Okay. What about you?
Probably Instagram.
That's the choice.
I probably already knew, but Instagram.
What the f-
I would say Instagram. I haven't met or found a man yet that can give me what Instagram has.
Whoa! Yeah, this is why this show is necessary. Do you see how all these girls are in a relationship with Instagram instead of a real man? They're addicted to attention instead of love.
Instagram.
Addicted to attention instead of love.
Amy, you're a woman, right?
Yep.
What's your
time you
reaction to
checked.
that?
Yeah.
Last time you checked.
That makes me so sad. First of all,
so
like
sad.
that's what they think. Like no, like it's just there's nothing real about
Nothing
any
real.
of that. So they're not.
The
That
only
they think that they're worthy and like they're not worthy. Like that's all that they can attract. And
the only thing real about that is what they feel when they get that dopamine hit.
right, and they want to keep going. That's right. It's an addiction.
And,
they just wanna
and
keep
for
going
those
after
who
it.
are just listening, it's a bunch of Instagram influencers. You know, they're all made up. They all look beautiful and with their own way, whatever else. They're not just
Right.
nobody.
right,
They're somebody on Instagram.
On Instagram.
right.
And it's weird because I tried to play like devil's advocate, and I was like, well, what about
Since Chris isn't here.
yeah, I was like, okay, guys, how do we give good attention so that they're not going to Instagram and getting all that attention? And then I thought, man, if they want that kind of attention on Instagram, I think it's on them. Like I kept on like going back and forth. Do you know what I mean?
Sort of.
So the guy asked the question
Right.
of, would you rather have a long-term boyfriend or Instagram? And they all said Instagram. So how can guys be better at giving attention, meeting that need of attention in these women's lives versus Instagram, so that they would actually want a relationship?
Or is it that their need for attention is so great they're never going to find that?
That's what I
Because
mean.
That's a one-sided.
That's what I mean. Like I was like, it has to be so great that
And
there's
distorted.
no guy and distorted because there's no guy that is ever gonna like be that guy.
And I would go as far as saying I'm not a guy, but like that would be not attractive at all. Like
No.
there'd be no guys or not even
No.
wanting to go near that or even want to be interested in a
A
relationship.
woman
or
that needs
something like
that much that's unhealthy attention.
Well, sure.
Yeah, that's unhealthy attention.
This has brought the room up.
We're doing
Well, let's bring it home, shall we?
All right, one more. This one.
So we'll set it up a little bit.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I don't want to.
This is good.
Just being open, honest, and vulnerable.
This is an example we've been heavy on the husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. This is mother, son, And this, you want to focus on the emotional responding. You should also want to focus on my man, who is arguably 7 or 8, going on 75. Amy, have you seen this yet?
No.
No.
Oh, I'm so excited for you.
I've
to
been
see this.
saving for yeah.
So how well does this mom do at emotional responding? Because this boy's hurting.
James. I'm serious. First of all, okay, I understand you're serious. But you been going up in this car like Bianca here. Baby, she's not here. She can't hear you.
But Mom, I'm just telling you, I'm done with Bianca this time. I'm not worried about Bianca this time. Just know, I moved on to bigger and better things.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now everybody. And I ain't about to say because I see your camera right now.
Okay, yeah, because I'm going to post you doing this.
Bianca, if you're seeing this, just know, Lil James Tucker is done with you. He's done with you.
James.
That's a pain that nobody can fix.
James, how the girl hurt you?
Oh!
James, it's not that serious. You really get in your feelings.
You know what it is? It's the pretty girls that just don't work.
James, I thought you loved me.
I'm done. I'm not getting
Look, James.
My man,
Such
dude.
a babe.
I know. I know. You know what it is?
You know what it is?
It's them pretty girls. Like,
I was
oh my
waiting for her to
God.
come up with some really great thing, and it like
What did she do wrong?
She just dismissed everything. She didn't join him at all.
It's not that big of a problem,
Right.
Look, James.
Yeah.
She just minimized
She
it.
goaded him on.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
she
For her,
laughed, like,
she-
"Oh, you're this 7-year-old. You don't really have any valid feelings. You're only 7."
So I can post it online. You keep doing what
I
you're doing so
know,
I
right.
can post it online.
She's filming it. She's filming it. My man, Look,
I mean,
James.
legit, it's
Making
funny.
it about
I mean,
her.
Like the,
Oh,
the,
that's
the-
what she
the
did.
kid was.
She got some clicks, I'm sure.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
she made it about her.
Oh yeah.
She got on this podcast.
got on this podcast.
But I'll tell you what was her name?
I don't know what her name
No,
is.
the girl.
Bianca.
Yeah.
Bianca, you ain't welcome to the table. We'll
Right?
bring you here, but what you did to James, that's a pain you can't come back from. My man's what, 8?
Yeah,
Yes.
right?
That's a pain you can't come back
Oh
from.
man.
My
So
man,
great.
James.
Well, that's it for episode 180. Please make sure to give us a like or follow on social media and visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com. While there, take our relational needs questionnaire. Thanks for joining us at the table for Lunchtime in Rome. Bye.
Bye.
I'm just really glad that all worked.
Bye.
Glad you're